This session, we're happy to introduce a terrific presentation called Everything You Want to Know About the Educators Commons. Our speaker today is Kay McLennan. Dr. Kay McLennan is the Director of Online Learning and Educational Technologies at the Tulane University School of Professional Advancement, where she holds the title of Senior Professor of Practice. Kay created the Tulane SOPA Metaverse and has been creating and using virtual world learning simulations in her online economics and business studies courses since 2008. Welcome all. Let's begin the session.
Galen, thank you. And to the audience members that I'm looking out on, I just thought it might be fun. I'm filling in here with perhaps some weather-related delays in our panelists showing up. And I thought it might be fun to just talk about the Educator Commons that is in the OS grid on Wright Plaza. And let me put in if I can, here we go. Here's the hyperlink into the chat for anybody that wants to take a look at the Educator Commons and some of the other resources there. Again, as I'm looking out into the audience, I can see that most of the attendees are even more senior in OpenSim than myself. So I'm hoping maybe at the end we'll have a little bit of a audience participation for tips and tricks for new OpenSim users. I sorted the age of the attendees in the radar and did see that there were a few attendees that were fairly new. Of course, they may be just new to this grid versus OpenSim. What the Educator Commons was envisioned when I noticed an empty store. It just sort of hit me like a flash a few years ago. It was a place to kind of coordinate giving folks that are new to OpenSim a leg up. And I've both built in resources, like if right in front of the building is a mesh character sitting on a bench reading a copy of the Hypergrid Business. And so if somebody clicks on the newspaper, they'll get a link to that publication. Also, there are mailboxes that folks can drop note cards to me by the front door and upstairs. Let's say you have some content you want to share with some of the others in the community. You're welcome to send it to me to set up here. Or, of course, Valerie Hill is starting to create a virtual database, virtual content and resource database. So that's something new coming online. I believe she said in April. So right inside the front door of the Educator Commons, we're kind of like taking a little pictorial tour here, is a setup with the affordances of virtual world learning simulations. So you can grab a note card to, tell your dean or administrator what it is you want some resources to be devoted to. There's also Fleep or Chris Collins, Science Lab kit. She has agreed to let that be given away at Educator Commons. And she just draws your attention to the copyright statement that's in it. It's been released under a Creative Commons license. If we move upstairs, the resources are set up in terms of land and facilities, also scripting. And there's a link to an island in the OS grid. It was previously called Script Library, but is now called Script Magic. Lots of great resources there. And by the way, I went over through the Educator Commons this morning and did a little mini test of the resources and links and corrected what I could. But this has reminded me I need to go over there and scrub everything once again. There's also another section of learning activities. And I have set up kind of some interview chairs, and I'm not ready to jump into this now, but something I had envisioned for the future is a little interview series about Meet the Educators in OpenSim. And the final part of the Educator Commons is showcase landmarks on the roof where you can get landmarks to different islands and simulations, both in OpenSim and around, and tour some great builds. One of my favorites is the Alice Island in the Franco grid. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. And of course, once you're at Wright Plaza, there's just a assortment of shops and the Freebies headquarters. I guess it's about a 3 or 4 story high building just chock full of freebies. And so it's always fun to go around and, get content that you might need for your grid. So I wanted to open it up for a few minutes. I know there's a lot of fun things scheduled during this break period out on the different expo regions. But did anybody have any comments? Is there anything that you might like to share with somebody that's new to OpenSim, your favorite tip or trick? And I'll jump in while folks are typing in and tell you my biggest and best tip is if you've res something, be it a single prim or another multi-prim object, and you can't keep control of it, the only thing you need to do is to change your camera angle. I realize that's really simple to everybody here, but I'm telling you, it took me a long time to figure that one out. So let's see. Oh, and Shelby has put in a link to one of his blogs about freebies. And also, of course, don't forget Fred's Outworld. Boy, that's, just the best resource for freebies. Now, I know you all are old hands in there, out in the audience.
I just want to just say that I have been to both the Wright Plaza and the Educators Commons, and they really are a wonderful resource. So if any of you haven't actually been over there, I would definitely recommend it. Absolutely.
And of course, please drop off some inventory you might like to share. We will give you full credit for sharing. And Joyce is adding how there's free training in building on the Avicon grid, which includes Primland, a walkthrough homage to Candyland to learn to build. And boy, Joyce, you're reminding me I have to put up links to those resources in the Educator Commons, especially Primland. What a neat building tutorial. And Joyce says, okay, Sally Davis also does tutorials, and I'm going to put these links in the Educator Commons.
I just want to jump in here for 1 second. Is it Caro or Caro? Faye Ray says, name, if you drop something off in inventory, please name everything, or the person ends up with an inventory full of objects. So, or primitive, or whatever its default name is. So yes, if you're dropping something off, do name all of the objects in the inventory.
I don't know if anybody has any sort of horror stories for their first days in virtual worlds. When I was first in RIS, my first avatar in Second Life in February of 2008, I remember when I built my first prims, and I thought to myself, boy, I wonder if I'm going to need these. And I kept taking them back into my inventory. What a maroon.
And so you end up with 15 different
1,000
versions of the same thing. Exactly. Yes. I sometimes have to go through. In fact, we every so often, I'm in a group, and every so often we have what we call a file clean out day or a file clean out hour or two. We just play some music and we dance and we clean out our inventories. It's very helpful to do that.
That's good thinking.
Mhm.
All right, I'm not going to hold anybody up from getting on to your next activities in the OSCC Expo regions. Thank you all for listening. I'm looking forward to this afternoon's. And Galen, I'll turn it back to you to wrap up.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kay, so much for hopping in and helping us fill up some time. And thank you for a terrific presentation.